Hello everyone, welcome to the Northland Artist Conversation. My name is Mark Kelly, I am your host of this amazing little podcast. Excuse me, bloody burp. Thank you for joining us, really appreciate it. If it's your first time here, thanks for stopping by and checking us out. If you are a repeat listener or viewer, thank you so much. Your support is actually greatly appreciated. We can't do this without the amazing people involved, but also you guys, the viewers and listeners as well. So thank you very much. I'm going to flick to my camera. I'm actually going to keep this a bit of a short intro tonight because for me this was a very, very interesting podcast. A guest that I've kind of known on the periphery for a little while now. Like I've seen him in a couple of things, and kind of it's like, oh hey man, yeah, how are you? And it's always kind of been the same as well. So it was really, really cool to sit down and actually chat and get to know him and learn about him, but also talk about, and probably more in depth, like about what he's got coming up, because he's about to make some huge life changes, which is super cool. And as a fellow artist, I commend him for being willing and brave enough to step outside of his comfort zone and just try something, which is awesome. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys enjoy this. Let's sit down and have a conversation with Brent Ruys.
I love Michael Jackson.
Yeah, same.
I feel like I got onto him kind of late.
When did you find...
I mean, I've been aware of and enjoyed him to some extent for most of my life, but about a year ago, I fell in super deep and started reading everything I could on Wikipedia and listening to albums over and over again.
Yeah. Have you seen the This Is Me documentary?
No.
Highly recommend it. Very good doco. It's the one that they were for the tour that he was getting ready to do.
Oh, and then
before
he
passed, yeah. It's kind of the last thing, but yeah, it's an amazing documentary. And he was such a prolific artist as well. Not only he wrote so much stuff for himself, but then he wrote so much for other people.
Yeah, well, part of what is impressive about him is that there's so much stuff by him.
Yeah.
He made a lot of music, and the overall quality and consistency over quite a number of years is insane.
Yeah. I mean, him and Prince for me would be the other one. Because he had Paisley Park Studios, and he would often record a song a day.
Apparently, they were very
competitive.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's just funny, imagining being competitive with Michael Jackson, because he seems like he was not built for that. He doesn't seem like someone who would know how to trash talk you or whatever.
No, yeah.
His persona was so powerful, and then his actual person was so kind of timid and tortured.
Yeah,
and so it's interesting.
Very childlike as well.
Yes.
Well, should we get the formal part out of the way?
Sure.
Brent Ruys.
It's actually Ruys.
Is it Ruys?
Yeah. Well, I've been getting this pronunciation my whole life.
Okay.
Going to school, you get a certificate. And
Brent Ruys.
Well,
Ruys.
Yeah, it's guys.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Or at least that's how I've been doing it. I think. I mean, it's Dutch. I think technically it's supposed to be Roos or something, but
it's quite harsh, really.
Yeah, a bit intense.
Yeah, very. Brent Ruys.
Exactly.
It's very. I think that was probably
especially when you're wearing headphones.
Probably a bit more German than anything else. Yeah. The headphones really do amplify it.
Yeah.
Well, Brent Ruys. There we go.
There you go.
Nice and smooth. Thank you very much for joining us on the Northland Artist Conversation.
It was pretty easy. I just walked in.
Yeah.
And sat on a little chair.
Yeah. We do like to make it nice and simple here. Not too challenging. And we've just talked some stuff about Michael Jackson.
I love Michael Jackson.
He's a damn talented human. Well, he was.
I guess so. I mean, he's more than just a person. He is
he's not a symbol.
That's oh, I was gonna say Batman.
That's Prince. So this is so we've kind of known each other very, very loosely for a few years now. I think I remember meeting you at improv.
Yeah, that would be right. I used to go to improv quite a lot.
Yeah. Or one of the earlier plungers.
Yeah,
So,
I would have swung by.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we exist in each other's peripheral a little bit.
Yeah, we're definitely on each other's periphery. Like, I'll see you wandering around town. I might wave. You might look and be like, I don't know who that guy is. And
well, the thing is, my peripheral vision's actually terrible because of all this.
The hair?
So I probably just didn't see you.
But that's okay. But you have majestic hair.
Thank you.
It is. It's very lionish, very luxurious. How does one maintain hair like that? Man, I know we're here to talk about creativity, and producer
No,
Andrew
I like
in the
this.
background
I
is
like
laughing.
this.
I just, as I said when we sat down, I have no idea where this podcast is going to go.
It's okay. I'm extremely vain, so I'm happy to talk about this. This is my dream.
Okay, let's just focus on your hair for now.
Let's focus on my hair for now.
On the hair.
Honestly, I for most of my life I haven't done that much to it. I think it's naturally pretty incredible. I mean, people are like, how do you grow it so long? It's like you don't really have to do anything, which is a nice thing.
So you don't cut the ends or anything?
I should. It's split ends like from some crazy distance up.
Right. Okay.
I kind of just like don't look at it. And every now and again I look in the mirror and I'm like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Like this goes so far away from me.
It's at arm's length.
Straight up.
Wow. Okay.
Depends on how long your arms are, I guess.
Well, for perspective, you're 5 foot.
Probably 5'4"
Okay. 5'6".
I don't know. I don't know how tall I am.
Okay. You're not under 6 foot,
I'm definitely under 6 foot.
but taller than 4'11".
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
It's a broad range. We can go with.
I mean,
that.
right now I'm sitting down, so
Yeah,
it's equalized.
But your arms are still the same.
that's true. My arms are the same length whether I'm standing up or sitting down.
That is correct. Now, the reason that we wanted to get you on the podcast, and actually we've been trying to get you on for a little while now, is we kind of reconnected at Sandbox this year again, which was very cool. And it was interesting to find out that, because, I mean, realistically, I only knew you as the guy from theatre sports, improv.
Right.
Improv. But you're actually a creative in a lot of ways, aren't
It's
you?
true. I do a great many things.
Yeah, so let's talk about those.
Sure.
What do you do?
Okay, so primarily for the past couple of years, I've been doing game development. But I generally dabble in like just visual art, like drawing, animation, which I currently do some tutoring in. I like to write. I used to be really into slam poetry. I did that for a good couple of years. I'm trying to get back into it. So I really like performing. Obviously, I did improv. I've done like YouTube videos. I've made like 2 documentaries. They're very amateur, but they exist.
Yeah. So filmmaking.
Yeah, I guess so. And a little bit of voiceover here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all of the big things. I might be forgetting something, but that's pretty much it.
It's pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
I mean, it's very different. I mean, game dev is... Yeah. No, I mean,
game dev is like a lot of different things wrapped into one. I mostly focus on the art area, though.
Right, okay. Do you work with the engine room guys?
Yes, I do a bit of tutoring there.
Right, okay.
Engine room basically being this kind of creative tech course for young people.
Yeah.
And so I just teach the animation section, which is kind of just like a crash course,
Nice.
Basically how to start.
Yeah, we've had Leonard on the podcast before. Such a cool dude. So amazing.
I love that man.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's just such a nice human being, and we sat down and we shot the shit, and it was great. And I'd been trying to get him on the podcast for a little while, so it was great to actually be able to do it. So, with your creativity being so vast, let's go back.
Sure.
And I mean way back.
Okay.
All the way back. When, I'm not talking the age of dinosaurs or anything like that.
You're my brain was going on a journey.
Yeah. So, when the meteor hit. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was on it actually.
Yeah, there we go. You sentient life. When you were born, were you born into like being quite a creative person? Were you born into a creative household?
Yeah. I mean, my dad is he plays in like a little band, and he's an amazing singer and drummer. Okay. And my mom paints and like has an art degree and stuff. So
oh wow.
Yeah, I guess you could say very much so. And my brother is also like me and does a whole lot of stuff, and he's my older brother, so I kind of just wanted to copy anything that he did when I was a kid.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, wow. And I think that annoyed him back then, but now we're both multi-talent people.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Whangarei. I've been in Whangarei my entire life. I'm 27 now, and I'm about to not be in Whangarei. I'm actually going to move.
No.
Yeah. So you're catching me right at the last second.
Holy cow. Where are you off to?
I'm going to Wellington, which is where I think a lot of people go.
Well, you know, yeah, our second ever podcast, Fox Levine, who did all the art for the podcast, lives in Wellington.
Well, it's funny. I first consumed this podcast by watching that episode. I thought, that guy's just like me.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing the same thing he did.
Yeah, which is crazy.
But yeah, I've been in Whangarei forever. No one can tell because I sound and look like this. But
sound, yes. I mean, you don't had. I'd be curious to know. Producer Andrew, has also been in Whangarei his whole life. And I'll have to say, the two of you do look very fundamentally quite different. So I don't think there's
on a deep level.
I don't think there's a particular Whangarei look per se.
Well, people think that I don't know. People think I'm like Native American or something because I have the accent and then I have like the hair.
Okay, great question. Where did the accent come from?
I guess I've just always been like a bit of a shut-in, and I just have always consumed a great deal of media. And I mean, these days kids all like grow up on the internet.
Yeah. Definitely.
But when I was a kid, that was a thing that was kind of unusual about me because I like had access to the computer very early, because my dad is like a computer guy, and so like it used to be that like adults around me would think like, man, like that kid needs to stop being on the internet so much, and then everyone else caught up to me, so I didn't have to change or grow.
Yeah. So essentially, you're like pioneering the way.
Yeah, I was pioneering.
Yeah. You're like, I'm on the internet
obsession.
8 hours a day. You guys will catch up.
Yeah, I was destroyed by the internet before it was cool. But that's also a lot of where my kind of creative inspirations came from. Like, I think I partially got into animation and drawing because of all the stuff I found online.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much. Well, nowadays there's so much of it. And back then you were really you weren't really spoiled for choice as you are now.
Yeah, and also I think the overall quality of stuff people made online is a lot more quaint in like the early mid 2000s.
Yeah, definitely.
Like the things that would catch on they'd get completely lost in the mush these days.
Yeah.
It was fun, and you could find videos of like stickmen like killing the shit out of each other with guns, and I was like, I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I remember Crazy Frog back around that time as well.
Oh yeah, Crazy Frog was huge.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and this was before, it was Crazy Frog, and like they'd drawn the frog in like a Formula One car. And it was before they put the Axel Foley theme to it. It was just some dude that had gone.
Yeah, that's right. It was just this kind of viral sound.
Yeah,
right?
It was. Yeah,
and then it became something else.
It really took a life of its own. Yeah. Okay, so naturally a very creative household.
Yes.
Drawn to the internet and art from quite an early age.
Yeah, no, I was obsessed with like video games and cartoons and the internet and like fan art of those things and all that kind of stuff.
What was your favorite cartoon?
Definitely Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
if we're going to count that as a cartoon.
What?
And it's an anime, but whatever.
But yeah, it's drawn.
I liked anime when I was growing up because it was so much cooler and angrier than everything else. Like American and like English cartoons are like usually a lot more cute and about like, you know, kids going to school and like dealing with their problems, or it's like animals.
Yeah.
And in Dragon Ball, people are like shooting laser beams through each other and like dying and exploding, and
Yeah.
veins are appearing on their necks.
That's it, and blood would stream from their eyes like the stigmata.
Yeah.
It was all very weird.
The stuff I draw now is like I can't wash the Dragon Ball out of it. Like I love drawing really muscular, angry men. Most of the time. That's most of my work.
Yeah. Vince McMahon from WWE would probably like those drawings.
I've only like I only knew about WWE and stuff from like the internet because I didn't have that channel or whatever.
Yeah.
But like I'm sure I would have loved that.
Yeah, big beefy boys.
Yeah, and just the
specials.
melodrama of it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny that you say anime. I remember being, because you said you're 27, eh?
I'm 27 yet.
Okay, so before you were born, I watched a manga was first sort of coming into New Zealand, and there was Akira, Ghost in the Shell, but then they had this series. It was one film first, and it was called, and I've watched it like 2 or 3 times, but it was called Yorosoku Doji, Legend of the Overfiend, and it was it was R-rated. Like, got bought into New Zealand. I was running a video store at the time, got bought into New Zealand, got the R18, contains violence and, you know, pretty much every subcategory you could have for R18.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there watching it going, this is the most violent thing ever. Will they ever do a live action version? But
It's
yeah,
not ethical.
No, I don't. They could possibly do it.
Legend of the Overfiend is probably the coolest series of words I've ever heard.
Yeah, I know, and that's how I remember it. You know, 27 years later, basically.
That's awesome.
So let's get back to you. I mean, we could discuss anime for hours.
Yeah, of those I've only seen Ghost in the Shell. I feel like that would have been a lot to watch as a kid. it went like I watch it as an adult. It's a pretty pretty heavy.
It's intense.
And like I don't know, it has like Blade Runner vibes.
Yes, definitely.
In terms of this, just the kind of ennui and sort of what have we done sadness of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, you were trying to like.
That's okay. That's okay. I was like, yeah. I mean, we can do this.
Yeah.
So, as someone who was a creative, how was schooling for you?
I did a lot of drawing in school when I was meant to be doing other things.
A lot of doodling?
Yeah, especially in high school. Well, in high school, I started kind of giving less of a shit, I guess. And so
Okay.
as happens for a lot of people.
Yes.
And so I would just like
put my hand up for that one. Producer Andrew will as well.
Yeah, I just started like drawing comics. And I started they'd have like little simple characters that are kind of like based on my friends and whatnot. And then it became pretty elaborate, and I started drawing them all the time. And like I'd like give them to my friends to read. And I just did this over like years. It's like a whole like saga. And teachers kind of just stopped like being bothered to like, it's like, just let him do his thing. It'll be fine.
Right, okay. So whilst you'd given no shits, they were at that same point as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about high school. Like, you don't give a shit, but neither do the teachers. So it's okay.
Right.
I guess it depends on where you go.
High school is a wonderful place and an amazing part of our educational system.
Oh, right.
That's fine.
Stay in school.
I think, that's it. Stay in school, kids. Look, everyone's experience of high school is different.
That's true.
I went to an all-boys school where rugby and then cricket were kind of the two big things.
The pinnacle.
That's it, man. Gisborne Boys High School, the apex was rugby. Like, we would compete with, what was the school that John Olomu went to? Kelston?
Was it? I don't know.
I want to say Auckland Boys Grammar, but I'm not too sure. But yeah, they would compete very, very well at a national level.
Wow.
And often, once a year they would do an overseas tour. And then there was me. I liked drama.
Oh no, you poor thing.
At an all-boys school. So yeah, bullying is a thing. We're not going to dive.
Wesley College.
Wesley College, thank you. So, did you go through any of those sorts of experiences? Because it's funny, having talked with a lot of creative people, that it sort of seems to be quite a common through thing.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think I dealt with too much of that, actually. I mean, it probably helps I didn't go to a boys' school. I went to a
Co-ed,
yeah.
Nice, yeah.
So that balances it out a little bit, I assume. But I also wonder if it's also like a little bit generational as well. I feel like maybe for recent generations, it's maybe a bit easier to like not be like an alpha, man force being.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I got more like I didn't get any shit for doing drama or being an artist or anything. A bit for like growing my hair out. That was kind of like
right, long-haired hippie.
A bit subversive, I think.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
Those like you look like a girl, that kind of stuff. And now I'm pretty chill with it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because like back then, I was like, I'm growing out my hair, and people would say that it's feminine or whatever or that kind of stuff, and
okay.
Well, which I guess is mostly just kind of homophobic stuff, really. But like, now I kind of embrace femininity a little bit.
Okay.
I've become a lot more flamboyant, I think, and I wear a lot of things that I wouldn't have been brave enough to wear at the time.
Is that because of the environment, or because you've become more comfortable with yourself?
I think because I've become more comfortable with myself. Well, but like, yeah, I don't know. Well, actually, when I got into poetry and improv as an adult, I think I came out of my shell a lot. I think because growing up I was like on the computer all the time and quite cynical and like kind of lower energy.
Well, it's also quite an insular thing, isn't it?
Yes, it separates you from everyone.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're going to like LAN parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You'd often just stay at home and.
Right, and everything that I was obsessed with was stuff that like my friends didn't know about. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna tell my friends about like what happened on an internet forum. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what is this?
Let's throw a ball.
Yeah, what's a forum?
Yeah, but. I mean, now kids today also won't know what a forum is because there's now 4 websites in the entire world that own everything.
Yes.
Including our brains. But as an adult, when I got into performing, it was like, now I'm putting myself out there, and to do this, I have to care less about like looking stupid, especially improv.
Absolutely improv.
In improv, like, there's no time to be like, oh, I shouldn't do this, or I shouldn't say this joke or whatever, because otherwise you stand there and you look silly.
Yeah.
So you just embrace it. And sometimes you say a joke that doesn't land, and then you move on and you're like, I'm still alive. And so it kind of made me feel a lot less afraid to be cringe, as it were.
Yes. Cringe. Great choice of word.
It is a word that is in vogue at the moment.
Yeah. Yes.
It has been for a couple of years. So yeah, that gave me a bit of cringe armor, I think.
Yeah. And realizing that it doesn't matter, because I mean, I taught improv to high school kids.
Oh, cool.
Many, many years ago. And it was interesting because a lot of so when my friend Natasha and I were setting it up, we would do every Monday from 6 to 8. And we went to all of the high schools, and we gave the big speeches and the big talk, and I got to my old high school, and it was quite a surreal experience because I was maybe 23 at the time, and I left school, didn't finish, travelled around North Island a little bit, done some dumb shit, as we all do, And I remember the principal getting up there and inviting me to come up on stage and speak. And it had already been prearranged. And it was like, I'd like you to welcome Mr. Kelly.
Oh, being referred to by Mr. and then surname would have been crazy.
And I got up there and I was like, thank you. can't even remember the principal's name.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a real honour to be here. Mr. Kelly is my father. Please just call me Mark. And you just have to get on with it, because, boys, I had 1,000 kids there. So there's me and 1,000 students with no shits to give, just wanting the assembly to be over so they can go and play handball or rugby or
and do alpha male
bull
activities.
rush.
Yeah.
Bull rush.
Concussion-based recreation.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, wrestling. And I got up there and I was just like, and then I just sat down. But having improv as a skill set, I think massively helps. And the students we were teaching, they were quiet people. And what we did is we helped bring them out of their shell. And it's a huge thing to be able to do, because if you can get up there and not give a shit about what people think and just do your thing, if it's great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. You just move on. Yeah,
no, it makes you way less afraid of the failure, because I guess people are quiet because they're like, what if I say the wrong thing or look stupid or get my words wrong? But like, people forget. Or like, in improv, something that's cool is that if you do something that doesn't really land, your scene partner is there to kind of help pick it back up again, right? And you've got each other's backs.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, life is generally like that as well.
Yeah, and it really is like it very much is a microcosm of life. You'll go and you'll try shit, and it'll either be a great success or it won't. But there will always be people that have got your back no matter what. And it's kind of a great way to look at things. You're off to Wellington.
Yes. That was a segue.
It's either going to work or it's not.
Yeah.
But no matter what happens, there are still people that are going to be supportive and behind you, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit easier, to take the plunge into something completely different.
Yeah. And I guess that's always the exciting part as well. Because you've lived here your whole life, yeah?
Yeah.
So this is going to be your first opportunity to go out and spread those wings.
Yeah, this is a big paradigm shift for me. I'm stepping into something completely new, but I feel like it's kind of important for my own growth. Even though I love Whangarei, and I'm not going to dog on it too much, even though I dogged on high school.
It's high school, man.
Yeah, it does things.
Yeah.
I don't really have a thought to complete there. I just trailed off.
One of the organisations that proudly supports the Northland Artist Conversation is Creative Northland. I'm going to take just a moment to talk to you guys about it. Creative Northland have been absolutely vital in helping this project get off the ground through its infancy and all the way through to where we are now. We couldn't have done what we've done without their assistance. What we suggest is that if you're a creative person and you haven't heard of Creative Northland, we highly recommend that you reach out to them. Creative Northland, simply do a Google search. They're the top result. These guys are wonderful. They're all creatives in their own way, and they're all very, very well respected throughout the industry that they work in. They're very hardworking, absolutely committed and dedicated to helping the creative people throughout Northland, whether it be through simple things like starting up a project, all the way through to putting on like an exhibition, for example, all the way through to working out how they can start turning what they do into a business. It's all free advice. They give really, really good guidelines and helpful assistance to make sure that you, as a creative, are able to get the most out of what you do. Creative Northland, highly recommend them. Check them out. So with such a big life change that you've got coming up, and with Wellington essentially being where you see yourself from this point onwards, where do you see your creativity kind of moving from from where it is now to where it will be down there?
Okay, well, I guess I have multiple artistic pods to go over. So Well, in terms of my game development stuff, which is sort of my main focus, it is mostly, stuff I'm doing digitally over the internet anyway. So that's kind of unaffected by where I am.
Yeah.
But I do want to get more into my performing stuff again, and maybe regain some of the confidence I think I had like a few years ago.
Do you think you've lost it?
A little bit, or maybe it's just that I've experienced some trauma since then as well. I don't know what is tangled in with what.
Yeah.
But I think it would be good. And the thing is, I used to really enjoy writing and performing. I don't really do it very much anymore.
Okay.
And I want to rekindle that part of myself. I think long term, one day I'd love to be able to put on a show that's just me doing poems and random bits.
Yeah.
And because I feel like I could build enough material to make an entertaining hour or something like that. And
like a one-person show, or?
Well, as I said before, I'm very vain, so yeah.
So one person in a mirror.
Yeah, there's no audience. It's just me.
It's just a room. I'm performing in a room full of mirrors.
Yeah, so I'd love to stoke up that part of myself and just see where it leads. But it's been good. I managed to write a poem recently for the first time in forever.
Really?
And so I feel like I'm able to get back on the horse and it's not locked away forever.
Okay.
I don't know how that metaphor turned to a horse being in prison.
It's all right. It's all right. Is it a poem you remember?
I've got it on my phone.
Do you want to?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll read you a poem. Why not?
Yeah. You know what? It's so cool because every now and then we've had a few guests that have brought in like artwork, or they've done like a bit of a performance piece, or they've done a reading from a book or a poetry book, and we actually haven't had any poetry for a wee while, so this actually might be quite cool.
We're bringing it back.
It's all about the interactivity. So use your camera, which is that one there.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a nice mid shot too. You'll look amazing. The hair cascading beautifully.
As usual.
Yeah. All right, so hit us with the title of the poem, and off we go.
Okay, this poem is called Cookies. I guess I could have also called it Biscuits. But
right, okay.
Whatever.
Yeah.
How were the cookies, you ask? My response is mumbled, muffled under blankets. What cookies? Perplexed, you inspect the wreckage across the room. It's strewn about like a fallen platoon of dead Tim Tam packets, toffee pop dust, its dirty clothes draping over cookie time buck. It's fucking shit. You take a moment and a deep breath. Those cookies, you say, gesturing vaguely, for there is no wrong direction to point. Oh, you mean all this? Yeah, I didn't eat those so much as I kind of just made them stop existing. It's kind of a blur. Okay, but did they at least taste good? Taste good? You say that as if it were a snack, and not an act of wanton destruction, crushed under tooth, jaws performing function, like, dislike. I didn't stop to savor it every single bite. Well, it may as well have been flavorless. You hesitate a moment, finding the words. Well, you must have had a hunger hankering to fit that in your gob. Did the chalk chips and peppermint hints at least hit the spot? But I scoff. I don't know. I wasn't really hungry. A cold shiver runs down your spine. You take a step back, and a long plastic tray crunches underfoot. Then why? If you weren't even hungry, this was never about sustenance, nor pleasure. You doofus, do you know why I gobbled him? They make up an edible voodoo doll of my problems. I'm defenseless against the many stresses testing me. I can't face my messes, but I can eat them in effigy. I'm not eating milk, arrowroots. I'm eating the woman I thought I'd marry. And climate change, and above all else, all the shit I need to do and I haven't done. And you know what it tastes like? Nothing. I stand up and wipe the crumbs from my stubble. Well, not crumbs, but rubble. And I brush past your shoulder to leave. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm doing a supermarket run. Do you want anything?
Brilliant. So that's a round of applause. Come on, producer Andrew, get a round of applause.
Thank you.
That was good. I'm just, yep, there we go. Clap from the... Woo! I guess the question I have after all of that is, how long have you been spying through my window? Yeah. As soon as you said Tim Tams and Kit Kats, I was like, oh, Toffee Pops, I was like, oh shit, have I been caught? And you're right, they're not milk arrowroots. Those things are terrible. Great for dunking.
Controversial.
I know. Yeah, very much so. Have a good old ginger nut. The biscuit, not the...
I hate it when they're not hard enough.
Yeah.
Because, like, I want to break my teeth on them. Like, if they're too accessible to, like... It's not the same.
No. And they've got to have that... There's got to be that real give back. Like, you're almost biting a brick.
Yeah, well, it needs to, like, have a fight in it. It's a project.
It is. It is. It's like hard taffy, you know? It's like, I'm going to get you.
Yeah, it might not be today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'll get you.
Cool. Well, where did... So it's always interesting sort of finding out the origins of those sorts of things. So where did... Because see, when you said cookies, after having talked about digital technology and all that sort of stuff, I was like, oh yeah, it's cookies. Yeah, of course. It's shit you have to accept if you want to go to a particular website.
Oh, yeah.
Then you were like, biscuits. I was like, no, it's not those cookies. Where did the... this is going to be a dumb question, but where did the inspiration for the poem come from? Was it a late night binging session, or was it a metaphorical relating to something?
It's not like a one-to-one exactly, but like I think my poems are generally pretty on the nose.
Yes.
I like to find something kind of mundane about my life and find the interesting insight buried within it. Because I don't think that only epic moments are worthy of poetry. I think mundane, like all of the important things and all of our feelings manifest in everyday moments as well. And I like to write about my own kind of angst in a way that is hopefully entertaining and kind of funny, but still,
very much so,
but you don't lose the point of it, because I think when you talk about this fucked up shit that you have inside, it makes other people feel more like at ease, like, oh, it's not just me, and there's a bit of tension release, and so I like writing that kind of thing.
It's almost like and as you were talking about it, the first thing that sort of popped into my head was Seinfeld, because it was a TV show really based on the smallest of things, and being out, them sort of being blown out of proportion and stuff like that. Very descriptive language. Well, your poem, Cookies had, talking about the stubble, the rubble. I was like, yeah, I can see that.
I like one-liners like that. Well, I usually write by coming up with all the one-liners first, and then I try and stick it together.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have the general idea of the poem, and then I'm like, I need to think of like 5 or 6 really clever things I can say.
Yeah.
And so when I found the rubble bit, I'm like,
there we go.
I got this.
Nice.
This can work.
Yeah.
If I can't think of enough good one-liners, the poem probably dies.
Okay. A grisly death, or does it get parked and then revisited later?
No, I think it just languishes on my computer or phone or whatever.
Right. Okay.
Never to be seen again.
But possibly revisited?
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. What is the creative process like for you? And I don't mean like digital or poetry.
Just like generally.
I mean in general.
I mean, I feel like it happens in there's like 2 settings for my creativity. Either it's like, either it's completely spontaneously like hyper focused, like this is suddenly it's in my head and all I can think about is this. I'm gonna not, breathe for 20 hours while this is happening, kind of thing. Right. Where it just takes you over.
All consuming, yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm fueled by passion. I don't need, sustenance. Or it's like struggling to push a boulder up a hill.
Right.
And it's one or the other, which is annoying and confusing because like the motivation isn't necessarily attached to whatever I'm supposed to be doing, or even my passion project. It'll be some random like idea I had for a TikTok. I'm like, all right, this is what I'm doing now.
Right. Right.
And yeah, it's very intense or very difficult, I think.
Do you find that when you get into that intense moment and that all-consuming nature, that the world just kind of disappears?
Yeah, and time disappears.
Right. Yeah.
And like that's when I kind of make the stuff that generally I feel most like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing, and this is what I'm proud of.
Right. Yeah.
And whatnot. And yeah, it's been interesting as I become more ambitious or try and make larger things, because like that sudden self-destructive focus is only designed for short bursts. So like if you want to make something that takes a really long time, like a game, there's going to be a lot more slogging and a lot more self-doubt.
Yeah, because I mean, you couldn't do, you know, that high energy for like days and days and weeks on end.
No, it's like it goes for a few days and then you go into low power mode for like a week after.
Right.
You
Yeah.
it takes some
hibernation.
Yeah.
So with everything that you're sort of, you know, that you're currently working on and getting back into, plus obviously the shift to Wellington. Wellington's always, I guess, kind of always been considered the art capital of New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Are you hoping that this move will stimulate and fire some of those creative synapses in the brain?
Yes. That's exactly it. I think there'll be more people who can inspire me as well.
Yeah.
Like I can go and see people doing the kind of things I want to do, and then think, all right, I'm going to bring something that's going to blow their mind next week or whatever.
I'm going to work hot for a week and then crash.
And crash for 6 months.
Yeah.
And be like, I don't know why I even tried.
No, God, it's very nihilistic of you.
Well, like I'm intense, you know. It's like, it's so crazy. Like I've been making creative things literally my whole life.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the second I have a bad day, right, it's like, it's all over. It's done. You know, like, like I'm a fraud. I've never made anything good ever. I don't know how we'll ever. And then like, I don't know, eat like a sandwich. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like hungry, but like, or, oh, I was just depressed or whatever. But like, it's a constant, like, cause I think people are, at their most creative when they're uninhibited by like worrying about how amazing it will be or like their legacy or anything like that. Like when there's no pressure. Like when you're a child, when you make stuff, you just make it. And then as an adult, you have so much self-doubt that like you often like will get 2 steps into something and then stop. And so I think the more experienced I become and the more accomplishments I have under my belt, I still feel like it means that I have to fight more and remind myself more that like, it's okay to make something that doesn't work out, or it's okay for me to have to practice to regain the skill I had a second ago. Like it's,
Do you, I have a question for you. Do you ever, you were talking before about, you know, things will be going along and then sometimes things will happen and then you'll be like, there's the self-doubt that creeps in.
Yes.
Do you ever get imposter syndrome?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think social media also doesn't help. Like, I mean, my social media feeds are all like amazing artists. Like I follow people that I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then it's really one of the like worst things you can do as an artist is like constantly compare yourself unfavorably to other artists.
Right. Yeah.
Because like, no matter how good you get, there's a 13-year-old somewhere better than you. Like way better than you.
Don't say that. That's depressing, man.
No, but my point is that
hopefully not doing a better podcast.
Well, I guess that's one disadvantage that 13s have, is that they're squeaky, so it's hard to make this work.
Yeah.
But my point is to not to be like, well, you know, you may as well give up. It's like, it's okay that there are people who are better than me. And I mean, it's cliche, but I guess like I'm the only one who's being myself. No one else is being me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
There's that. But yeah, I don't know. Like I do some teaching for animation stuff. So like I often deal with students who are insecure about their art and like they'll delete everything that they make. and like they're frustrated because they can't make something as good as I can.
Okay.
And it's like it's funny because I often have those same self-doubts
When you're looking at other people, right?
yeah, so it's like I don't know, the people that I'm looking up to are probably also insecure and probably think I'm not good enough. So at some point maybe you should just be like, you know what, this is nice. You know,
Which it brings up a really interesting philosophical debate, right? And I think we've talked about it on the podcast a couple of times. Is it really art if you don't put it out into the world?
that is an interesting question. It's a deeply personal question, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's about your relationship to the art.
Because like you could be the most amazing singer or actor or painter or graphic designer or illustrator, but if you never put anything into the public sphere for it to be critiqued, both good and bad.
I guess it depends on what you define art as. I mean, for me personally, like with my relationship to art, like I kind of treat my art as like a dialogue, and so it needs to be. I think the process of sharing it and then having it bounce back off of that person and then back onto me and back onto them, like that kind of is the part that we're looking for me.
Right.
Especially when I'm like performing. But if it's a game that I've worked on, then it's like, I make this game and then someone plays it and then it, filters into their brain and there's this amazing connection happening, even if we're not even in the same room. But like, I don't know. I don't know if I'd go as far to say it's like, that's the real art. Because like, I think, I don't know, if you just make something and you liked it and it made you happy, then I guess you could say the audience is yourself.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I don't like to put a lot of rules on these things because like self-expression is self-expression. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we've had a lot of different people with a lot of different artistic expressions on the podcast. But yeah, it was a question that was raised. Man, who raised it? Actually, Shane Evans raised it, and it's a very interesting. It is a very philosophical question.
I think so,
because he was talking about, he'd done work for, he'd done commissioned work for other people throughout the years, but he'd never actually sat down and drawn his own comic and used all the words and dialogue and kind of known where he wants it to go. So for him, it was time to sit down and, nut up or shut up. And he went and did it.
And made some original content.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what he was going through mentally to actually go, I'm just going to put this out. And if it sucks, it sucks. So that him sort of asking that question was like, yeah, it's a great philosophical question.
Right. So he was basically saying, like, thinking about art as something that only counts if you share it was kind of his motivator to actually share.
Yeah.
To actually get over that fear.
To put his, reputation on the line and go, I've done all of these covers or comic illustrations for other people, but I've never put my own name and space on something specifically that's my own, a creation of my own.
Yeah.
Like for yourself, right? You do illustration, and do you get if you're building games and things, you have that option where it's like, well, I can work with a bigger company and I can be part of the cog in the machine, or you can develop something from scratch and throw it out there, and then it's your own reputation, sink or swim.
I guess I've never super gone hard on like, I guess that kind of freelance, like I'm going to represent other people's ideas.
Right. Okay.
Like I've done a little bit of freelance work, but mostly I am kind of representing myself. Though I guess like within game dev, like I'm working in a team, and so I am like a cog in the machine, but there's not that many cogs, so I guess I'm still important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That whole question about staking your reputation on something is interesting, because at least like with with game dev,
Yep.
I guess I feel a little bit like my name and like myself is kind of like not the most important part. Like our studio is called Studio Hip Sword, and so like it's like
Hip sword.
yeah.
That's very cool.
So Studio Hip Sword, it's like it's almost like it's their game, even though I'm Studio Hip Sword. But when I perform poetry or make a YouTube video, it's like that is me. Like that's my whole face and, and voice and full name, and it's right there. But yeah, I guess I just come from a different experience and walk and world than him, because like I got so much out of doing poetry where like the entire point was like put something that I felt insecure about, that made me feel kind of not very valid or whatever, and then have it resonate. So
yeah, and you know, you being open to sharing a new poem, I put you on the spot. You could have elected to have said no thank you, and that would have been okay. I'm glad you didn't, because it was wicked.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So, you know, as someone, you know, and I think it's easier when you're part of a team to be creative as opposed to being an individual.
Well, I mean, earlier on I was talking about how like creativity can be pushing a rock up a hill. It's a lot easier if you're not the only one pushing the rock.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, although sometimes working on games and stuff, I feel a bit trapped, or like I've like committed to this huge. I've tied myself to this rock. It doesn't make any sense, but like,
well, no, it makes sense, because if you push the rock up the hill and it's just you tied to it, if you get too tired or weary and the rock goes backwards, you're going with the rock as well.
That's you know what? I'm a genius.
You are.
I was just thinking about like this pushing the rock, but in my head I was imagining kind of rolling the rock, and like no, I'm like getting you know what I mean?
There you go. There you go. See?
How do I get this?
Just amazing ideas just flowing out.
What was I talking about? Teamwork. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes I can feel a bit shackled, I think, to things that are quite ambitious or long-term projects.
Okay.
But you know, it's not just one person's burden, so that helps a bit.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. What are there any sort of games that you're or projects or ideas that you're kind of hoping to have completed before the big move?
No, I'm just going to continue work on the same project once we move over. But yeah, I'm currently working on a game called The Siege of Jomdo, which is a word we made up. It's kind of like it's basically like a narrative, choose your own adventure kind of reading kind of thing.
Yes.
Where you got to make tough decisions and you know, try and figure out what things to do. And it's kind of based on like East Asian culture. It's mostly based on like the Joseon era of Korea.
What was it called again? The Siege of
Jomdo. Jeomdo.
Okay, because I'll be honest, I thought you said the Siege of John Doe, and I was like,
I've gotten that before.
What the hell has John Doe got to do with anything?
Why are we sieging him?
Yeah, I mean,
he's just a guy. Like,
he seems like a nice person.
We don't need a battering ram. He's one guy.
It's a dude. Let's just it's a siege.
No, it's a word we made up. So,
okay,
yeah,
right.
But yeah, it's kind of like, have you seen Seven Samurai?
Yes, definitely.
It's kind of like that in terms of the story. It's
wow.
It's like you're this guy, and there's this village, but they're gonna get attacked by like a bunch of scary guys, and they're just villagers. They don't know what to do. Yeah. So you're like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna build these defenses, and here's how to swing a sword and all that kind of thing.
Oh, like the montage scenes that you'll see in like I don't know why.
Let's get down to business.
The only one I could think of off the top of my head was Kung Fu Panda, and I don't know why.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great movie.
It's the scene where Poe starts teaching all the rest of the villagers how to fight, and that was the first thing that came to my mind.
So we basically stole a scene from Kung Fu Panda, and we're turning it into a full game.
Brilliant. Will you have Kung Fu Panda's tagline though?
I think
there is no charge for awesomeness or attractiveness.
That is really good.
One of my favorite lines.
There's this is completely unrelated.
Sure.
One of my favorite internet cartoons in the mid 2000s was called Homestar Runner.
Okay.
And there's a character in it called Strong Bad, and they made a video game for this character called Strong Bad School Game for Attractive People, which I just think is really good.
It's awesome. Brilliant. Well, Brett, thank you so much for coming in and sitting down and just sharing with us. This is so cool.
No problem.
It does sound like you've got this unbelievable journey ahead of you, and it really is the road less travelled. You know, because you could have quite easily just stayed here for years and years and years and years, but you've chosen to put yourself out there, and that's very commendable.
Thank you. I have no idea what I'm doing, but that's kind of the point, I guess.
It's how art works. Woo! Woohoo! So, yeah, thank you very much for coming in and sharing, man. I really do appreciate it.
No, it's fun. Thanks for having me.
Well, there you go, everyone. Brett Ruys. Interesting, he said. Not rice or Reese, which is what I actually thought it had been for a number of years, but he said rhymes with guys. So, Brett Ruys. There we go. Nice and easy. Producer Andrew, you there?
Yes.
What were your takeaways out of the podcast tonight?
He's very intelligent. You can tell by the way he talks and how he relates.
Incredibly
things to
articulate
things.
as well, eh?
Yeah. So like when he was talking about like how he hyper focuses on creative ideas.
Yes.
I spend a lot of time on the road with my job, and so I related to that. But then he also talks about how he talks himself out of it, or he gets that real mad self doubt. And I can do that all in one journey. So yeah. It was an interesting thing for him to bring up for sure.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me that I got out of it was just hearing him talk. Just in general, he's got such a smooth radio voice.
Oh, he does.
And as you said, he's so incredibly intelligent as well, and very thoughtful. Like he doesn't just. Yeah. He's not one of those people that if he's thinking it, it's coming out with no gateway. He is just, he's very thoughtful, and I really like that a lot. I think if I even finding one thing that I got out of today's podcast was really interesting.
I also liked if I interject.
You may interject. Yes.
I do a lot of that comparing myself to others.
Yeah,
he kind of touched on that. Like I can come up with an idea that I think I've come up with, and then see a million other people doing it, and they're doing it way better than I'll ever be when I start. So I just kind of talk myself out of it further. So I saw a lot of those. A lot of creative roadblocks.
Yeah.
Very similar. So.
No, yeah, I guess for me that's probably the big one as well. And, having sort of the chance to ask some deeper questions as well for me was really cool. And it was interesting because, I think with each guest, we ask, the collective like us as a collective, we'll sort of talk about some of the more challenging questions, but because Brett is so what's the word I'm searching for? He's so very deep with what he talks about. I really wanted to ask him quite a deep philosophical question, and I think he answered it really well too. So that was cool. But I'm going to go to my camera now. But it was really, really nice to actually sit down with the guy, get to know him, because I've seen him at improv nights around town, seen him at the Plunge comic book convention as well, and caught up with him at Sandbox, which was a couple months ago now, maybe 6 weeks. But it was great to actually sit down and really get to know the guy. Super cool. So, Brett, man, all the best on your journey down to Wellington. Man, I know once you're out there and involved in it, you are going to absolutely kill it. It's such an amazing place for creative people. So enjoy yourself, man. Have a great time. So where can you, the listeners, all the viewers, find all of our glorious podcasts in their amazing audio and video form? Well, I'm here to share that information with you. For video, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all Northland Artists Conversation. For audio, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Again, Northland Artists Conversation. And if you are an artist, or if you know someone that has a creative expression and you think they would be really cool either in the chair or over internet call, a remote call, I guess, man, we would love to hear from you. So please feel free to email us, and that email address is hello@northlandartistsconversation.co.nz. Super simple. We've tried to keep everything as simple as possible. And if you'd like to donate to the podcast as a great way of saying, hey, we really support what you guys are doing. We think it's amazing. Please keep it up. Man, we would love to have that. That would be amazing. So we created a Patreon account, and Patreon is a way where you can donate just as a little bit each month. It's not even that much. So we've got 2 tiers. The first tier we have is called Cup of Coffee, and that is honestly just $5 a month. Nice and easy, super simple. Second tier we have is called Coffee Addict. That's $20 a month. And that gives you a few extras, a few perks, if you will, that you don't get with the Cup of Coffee tier. You get to know who the guests are in advance. If there's a question that you would like me to ask our guest, you can simply email through the Patreon and we can go from there. And thirdly, you also get a shout out, which is what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to give some shout outs to our patrons. So I'd like to thank Lauren Roach for being the coolest, most OG Patreon that we've had. Thank you so much. Michael Boter still continues to be the man. New book coming out. Cannot wait. Apparently it's available digitally now. Have a look on his Facebook page, Michael Boter. Third is Maggie Coco, who was in town a couple of weeks ago doing a performance piece with Nimi Santosh. That would have been amazing. I wished I could have gone. And fourthly is Jenny Purchase. Jenny, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Hopefully, when your book comes out, we can sit down and get you back in and have a chat. That would be amazing. So thank you to the 4 patrons that we have. We do appreciate it. Where can you, the listener or viewer, go to find that information? Well, there's 2 ways. First way you can do is go to Google, type in Patreon. That's Patreon. Top right hand corner, simply create an account, register your name, address, email, blah 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 details, and then type in Northland Artists Conversation. Select your tier, go from there. Super easy, really simple. Second way you can go is that I'll give you the link now. It is www.patreon.com/Northland Artists Conversation. Nice and simple. It'll take you there. Create your account, pick your tier, go from there. Thank you guys. And please remember, if you have us as part of your socials, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. For YouTube, please make sure that you go through and you do all of that good stuff. Flick us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and switch on, go to the bell icon, turn on your notifications to all. That way you never miss one of these amazing podcasts for your local artists in Northland, New Zealand. I'm going to go to my wide camera. So yeah, man, it's a wicked time at the moment. Slowly getting warmer. I love summer. You know, it's one of the things I love about Northland is some of the amazing beaches. I am a huge fan of Matapuri, and this year I am hoping, fingers crossed, to actually be able to get up and spend some time at Ahipara and go there. Have a look, check it out, catch a few waves, that'll be good. And then pop into Kaitaia and see Captain Donut. Captain Donut are the best. You guys are amazing. So yeah, you know, we're leading into Christmas now. It's kind of the final countdown. You know, we should have some music in the background going but we won't. So yeah, Christmas is, man, it's just so super close now. So yeah, guys, look after yourselves. Take care of one another. My name is Mark Kelly. On behalf of the Northland Artists Conversation team, thank you so much for choosing to stop by and check us out, and we will see you guys real soon.